So we're going to have our panel discussion, and I'm going to read the biographies of our team so that I don't get anything wrong, because we are so fortunate to have this group of people working with us, and it's such an exciting time. We weren't sure that everyone would be able to come together because, as you know, traditionally October is Black History Month, so everybody gets called to focus on other events and to work in many, many different ways. So the first person is David Fletcher. David, would you like to give us a wave? So David is mixed race, Afro-Guyanese descent. David has lived and worked in many countries on the African continent the past 35 years. An educator and community development specialist, he has explored the traditional indigenous wisdom and spirituality of many African peoples. David has been a student of the Brahma Kumaris since 2002. Thank you, David, for joining us. We also have Amashade, who you met before with that beautiful drum call and the pouring of the libations, which was fantastic. So we're very, very fortunate to have Amashade with us this morning. Amashade is a creative facilitator, artist, and percussionist, and we will hear more from Amashade later. Amashade is also shamanic celebrant, specialising in bespoke wedding and naming ceremonies, funerals, and end-of-life care within the community. Welcome, thank you. We also have Denzel Sinclair. Denzel is a Canadian jazz vocalist who has performed in numerous concert halls and festivals around the world. Denzel has also worked with renowned artists such as Wynton Marsalis and the JALC Orchestra, Michael Feinstein, the Count Basie Orchestra, and WDR Big Band. Fantastic. Welcome, Denzel. And we also have Pearl Jordan, who's founder of the Rhythmic Remedy technique, a holistic approach to personal and professional growth. Pearl is also performance and wellbeing specialist, a speaker, presenter, writer, coach, and past president of the Professional Speaking Association. So last, but by no means least, we are very honoured to have you all here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So this discussion is about Ubuntu and what that means to you as individuals. I really want to come to Amashade first, because I felt in the pouring of the libations, certain memories started to come back to me, and they were more around the spiritual side of things. But when I say spiritual, I mean of the spirit. For example, we have something in Carriacou called Jack Iron, which is like a bootleg liquor, but it's always used, and we've always had that tradition when we open a bottle of spirit that we also share some with the ancestors by wetting the ground, and then water is poured on that. So I really wanted you to explain a little bit more about Ubuntu in that context and the ancient traditions. And I really also want to hear from David as well. So I think Amashede, if you can start, and then perhaps we can hear from you as well, David.
Thank you so much, Ella, for that wonderful, wonderful opening introduction, and yeah, just expressing your vibration on and your sharing your stories as well. That was really beautiful to hear. Um, the pouring of libation is such a grounding and traditional thing that we do within our culture. The holding of that calabash, even the container itself, is, something, we're held within that. And then when you pour onto the earth and nourish the earth, as you said earlier, you know, that whole connection with development and with ecology, with the earth and how we honor it. And so often as we go about our day to day, we're just walking about our business, and really our connection to the earth is lost. So libation really does put us in touch with the earth and also with the heads and shoulders that we stand upon. So within that Ubuntu, we that connection of we are part of a lineage, we are part of a global village, we are part of our family's heritage. It libation has the ability of just connecting all of those dots. And what I love about Africa, what I love about our language, is that we say so much in one word: Ubuntu. That one word. So for me, you have Ubuntu, and then you have Sankofa. And Sankofa, when I think of Sankofa, I hear come we go, come we go. I had a Baba Ade, he's not with us any longer, but he always used to say, come we go. So with Sankofa, to be able to say to somebody, come, you're literally calling them. So they're coming and then you're going, So Sankofa is very much about, yeah, let's pick up ourselves from wherever we were, from whatever we had, and bring it to our present. So let's be present with that. And then we go. So the bird, picking up the egg, and the egg again, that vessel, that roundness, that holding, that potent seed that we hold and carry, and then moving that forward. And you spoke of, preparing for the generations, from moving forward into the generations. So, that egg is very precious, right? We have to carry that egg and we have to hold that in our bodies, our minds, and our spirit. So Ubuntu is a vibration that it's a seed that's always sat within me from small. I can't even say how long, but it's before I could even articulate what this was. I used to experience this global vibration. I didn't know what it was, but the expression of it is that I could feel, connected. And I wanted to expand on that and actually just overstand it in a way that we could all connect. I didn't, being born in the UK, my parents are from the Caribbean, and yet I felt really African. So I grew up in this bubble of sort of wanting to connect with my surroundings, not being able to fully connect with my surroundings. When I eventually went to the Caribbean, I was called foreign, I felt foreign. And then having that, of reaching the motherland. And I must say, when I did touch down on Mama Africa, I had to just really touch the earth, That is really the calling for me. I had to touch the earth. I actually got on my knees and put my forehead to the earth. And I felt held. I really felt held, you know, by the earth. And it was my first experience of the earth being my first mother, of being that energy. So, you know, for me to have to travel to Africa to actually feel that holding, it woke something up in me. It woke up that Ubuntu and made sense of it. You know, all of a sudden it wasn't this odd, you know, global village. It wasn't this odd thing. Actually, it was something that was inherently natural. And actually being in the West and being taken out of my natural setting was the oddness. So, and so that brought about, when in my return, the next thing, because I thought culture shock happened when you left where you lived, but I experienced it when I actually came home. So but that's another story. Our global village, our global village. Really, there's so much to be fully realized about who we are in Ubuntu, about our connectedness. We have so much inner power that is manifest and womifest within our talents. We have, you know, that whole expression that is bursting within us. So any opportunity, and I really so much give thanks for this opportunity, for this platform, to be even to have these dialogues, to be able to go deep within to Ubuntu. Gosh, that's the poet in me coming out. Within Ubuntu, because we're spread all over the world. The world, you know, the world is Africa, essentially. It's one world, it's one planet. We are everywhere on the planet. So this whole concept of separation and you know, displacement is not, you know, that really is the illusion that we can now shed. We can now let that go. We're in, as you said, we're in, you know, the new paradigm. We're awake now. We're realized now, our senses are vibrating on a different vibration now. So within that vibration, it's, you know, to have these platforms where we can actually sit and exhale within our authentic selves. So powerful. So it's beautiful. It's magical. So the global village, the Ubuntu, you know, is about connecting with our past. And if that means, you know, connecting also with our ancestry, many of our ancestries have not really been honored in the way they need to be honored. And once they're honored in that way, they can then be active in our lives in a useful way. So I know a lot of people have different concepts about ancestors and what that means, but the standpoint I come from is that spirit never dies. There is no death, there's only transformation. So within our connectedness, the more that we can connect, you know, through Rastafari, they always tell you, go back to the roots, go to creation.
Yes.
You know, we are from creation. We're from that seed of, you know, creation. So if you're so connected, that means we have all the information we need. We have all the skill and talent we need. We have an abundance of love, you know, and to sit, really sit within that knowing. That's the practice. And wherever I sit, where, you know, these villages that are created now, wherever we sit in them, it's the same. People want to be connected. We want to be Ubuntu. That's the calling. It's like whether we, know the word, whatever, language you want to call it, because we say Ubuntu, but Africa is vast. How many words for Ubuntu is there? So I'm happy to be sitting in village. I'm very, very happy to be sitting in village. And I say to all, come we go. Aye. So yes.
So fantastic. That's just so beautiful. The richness of the conversation, I think it's only just begun. We're still setting the groundwork for the day, and it feels already that the energy is so elevated. I know many years ago, there was a whole thing around the law of vibration. But I think it's really about the law of radiation, the radiance, the luminosity that we emanate from our hearts. And this is what I'm feeling coming through now. So I really want to hear from David as well, some of the indigenous wisdom that you bring, that you have to share with us, that this is the wisdom of our ancestors, and it's evolving and being revealed all the time. Yeah. So David?
I just got caught up in Amasade sharing it. I forgot to hit that button. Thank you, Ella, and Amasade, thank you very much for getting us started in this exploration of Ubuntu. I think, as you said, it's a concept from Southern Africa, but there are so many other words and so many other understandings of the same philosophy, I think, across the continent, of the diaspora, and I think of all people who are indigenous to Gaia, as Ella mentioned earlier. Indigenous people to this world, I think, have a different kind of connection to the land and to the elements and to spirit. And when Nina started this morning and introduced the Brahma Kumari organization, one of the things that struck me was she talked about it's, a process of moving away from our connection with the material world to a connection with the spiritual world. And from my understanding of indigenous wisdom and spirituality from different parts of the African continent that I've been very blessed to learn from over the years, I think the legacy of 500 years of colonialism is taking peoples who knew of the sacredness of life and who had a very strong spiritual connection to what it was about being alive, and were colonized to then believe that the material world was more important. And I think this rediscovery and going back in Sankofa to the egg and the essence and the richness of the original understanding is really returning to the sacredness and the spirituality that's all part of life. So it's lovely how people have touched on that already. For me, as Amasade, as you talked about, that first touch on the African continent, for me, it was the smell in Nigeria and the smell of the earth, which is, and brought back memories. I think for many of us, it brings back memories, the smell and the atmosphere and that ecosystem, which I think we've always been part of at some time. And in pouring the libation, I think there's that gathering, that honoring of the ancestors, the the gratitude to the ancestors, to those who have gone before, and to the land that we're all part of. I've been blessed to spend a lot of time in northern Ghana with the Dagara people, you know, and they talk about, we are from the soil. We are made from the soil. That is part of who we are. So there's that gratitude to the soil, but I think there's also a really essential part of Ubuntu that's about the responsibility we have to ourselves to be the best we can be, and the responsibility to others to have the best relationships we can have. And that's others who are close to us in our families, but others in our village, others in the world, and other living beings as well. And that relationship with the earth and the soil and the environment is part of Ubuntu as well. You know, some people talk about it as sharing and caring. And that's an important part, I think, of what Ubuntu is. But it's much deeper than that. You know, it's this sense of we are part of a global village. And, you know, we need to celebrate that part of the global village. There will be some challenges within the relationships in that village. There's always challenges in villages and in families, but that's part of life. That's what it's about. And it's the exploration and the nurturing and the working through that makes us alive and makes us human. And that makes us part of what's Ubuntu. You know, I can come back and talk some more about things, but a big part of it for me is this sense of Ubuntu is really a philosophy. People might talk about it as a cosmovision, a way of understanding the world and how we're part of the world. And Ubuntu has been used to talk about, you know, cooperative economics, you know, is supported by Ubuntu. Solidarity economics, which some people talk about, is supported by Ubuntu. Ubuntu is used to talk about, you know, the difference between collectivism and individualism, and breaking away from this sense of the individual and looking at things more broadly than that in terms of a way of life and a way of being. And it's a celebration, I think, for the role each of us is called to play in the world. So the sense of being called together today is really special. Can just take us even deeper in that understanding in terms of what we can learn from the past and those who've gone before. But maybe I'll leave it there for now. We want to bring Denzel and Pearl into the conversation, and we can say some more about Sankofa and other things as we have time.
That is just amazing. I think we're building on the energy today. We're setting the groundwork, the grounding, and so much more to be revealed. I really want to come to Pearl next, and Pearl, I really want to hear your take on this from your experience of the rhythm of life. I think it's so important that you share at this point, and then perhaps Denzel, you can follow Pearl with your introduction as well to this discussion, and then we can talk some more.
Thanks, Ella. So I was just thinking can you all hear me, by the way?
Yes, perfectly clear.
Okay,
yes.
Good. So I was just thinking of my almost like a wake up modern Ubuntu moment recently, when I was working with some young people, some young actors, and we were working on a dance style that I'll be exploring later on, called the Lindy Hop, and I was talking about the history. And I was thinking that today we're all enjoying this swing form of jazz dance. Lots of people enjoying it and loving it. And that's wonderful. What about the history? What about the roots? What about the seed? You know, what's the link? Where did it come from? So I was doing all of this, which is what I always do when I'm working with dance in particular. And I even mentioned Elvis Presley. You know, what's Elvis Presley known for? You know, and they were like moving his hips, swinging his hips. And I was like, yeah, but do you know when Elvis Presley first started swinging his hips, they wouldn't film him from the waist down. He had to be filmed from the waist up. So what is it that made Elvis Presley want to move his hips so much, you know? And then we started looking at the history of that and looking at the Lindy Hop, which is considered the earliest form of jazz dance, is so rooted, well, all jazz is rooted in the rhythmic beat, in the rhythms of Africa. You know, it's like that is the root. And Elvis Presley, if he was moving his hips, which he was, clearly was hanging out with Black people. And that's written, you know, he was hanging out in the blues club and stuff like that. And to be able to show them that one of Elvis Presley's favorite moves, which I won't do now, but it's like a jailhouse rocky, doing hips coming forward. And that style, right, it's literally the boogie forwards of the Lindy Hop. And then you can see literally that's this step or within this African form of dance. And you just see the connections and you work yourself back. And it was just amazing to see the wonder in the eyes of these young people, because when for them, it's just, oh, we're all having fun. It's like, yeah, let's go back. Let's go back and see how everything and everyone's interconnected. Let's go back and recognize that and honor that. And it was wonderful to do. But it's as I finished the whole session and they've had all their homework to go and explore this more, and they were very excited about the connection and looking at the African influence and how you go further back, the lower styles get in jazz, all that kind of thing. And once the session was over, I was walking home going, Ubuntu. Oh my gosh, that was an Ubuntu and Sankofa session, you know, because, you know, we were talking about being an ensemble. When you're on stage, you know, you're an ensemble, you know, I am because you are and you are because I am. We're here together, folks. You know, as much as I give you, you give me. We need each other. We are so connected. It's so important that we work as one, that we are one. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the modern day, you know, look at a very practical way of bringing the message, the philosophy of Ubuntu and Sankofa to younger people of today. And so for me, yeah, that was quite powerful, and I felt quite proud of myself actually that I'd managed to to make it work in that way. So yeah, I mean, in terms of the richness, David and Amajade have explained all of that and have done that so beautifully. So it'd be great to hear. And this was my very sort of practical, on a modern day-to-day look at these words and how vital they are and how they still alive and they thrive, and they help us to thrive. And so let's see what Denzel. Sorry, I had to do that. Let's say what, you know, it'd be interesting to hear also what Denzel has to say on this subject.
Good afternoon, good morning still, actually. It's still morning. I'm disoriented here, about 5 hours away. I'm honored to be with all of you here, my wonderful extended family. As others have mentioned, it has been a thrill to work together for the past almost a month now, really, and you know, hold this wonderful vision of today. And we've had a lot of wonderful laughs, and there'll be more to come. Sankofa and Ubuntu. I think definitely I was more familiar with Ubuntu, and just in terms of the expression. Sankofa is more of a recent thing, but I feel that Sankofa is about this. What we're trying to do right now, I think, is about raising awareness, or perhaps refocusing our awareness. And I love, for example, the word that, I don't know if it's a Caribbean thing, but the overstanding, instead of understanding, overstanding. So I like that perspective, of it's a bird's eye view, and I think of Sankofa is a bird. And so it's like, for me, it means Sankofa is something, an awareness. And one's awareness, I feel that Sankofa informs my Ubuntu. Ubuntu meaning humanity, or, I am because you are. And it's like whatever is in my awareness affects the way that I am, and therefore affects the way that I interact with others. And it's interesting. So Sankofa, a perspective, time, time, eternity, as so many things in life we know are cyclical. So we see the bird, and it's going back to the tail, or to retrieve the egg. The conundrum, chicken or the egg, bird or the egg, which both, all, maybe they were there. And we know that energy is neither created or destroyed. So both are there. So it's a very beautiful image, in that perhaps the bird is going back from where it came. So it can be both, that I'm going back to where I come from. This is where I come from. The bird emerges from the egg, and so that awareness. And with Ubuntu, it's collective. It's a community. And we interact, we exchange, and I think of the word act karma, sort of perhaps a misunderstood word. It's usually, people might think of it as something random, but just simply means action. And we know that every action, this is one of the the true laws of the universe. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And so even our thoughts are action. Our vibrating is an action. That is energy that is going out. And so the quality of our energy, whatever is reciprocated. So my awareness, my Sankofa, my big perspective, larger perspective, can inform the way I interact. And this is a beautiful time now I think about the rich heritage, African heritage. I mean, talk about probably one of the original, dynasties, royalty. We're coming from royalty, and over time, like a lot of things decay, things change, everything new becomes old, So, but with Sankofa gives the perspective that after the night comes the day, after winter comes the spring. So it gives me that strength and courage to know that what is happening, in winter, we complain that it's cold, but it's consistent with winter, right? The seasons, you can't ask for July and December. I mean, you can ask, but it's not going to happen, right? So in a way, Sankofa gives me the understanding of my Ubuntu. Anyway, something like that.
That really goes to deepening the conversation so much more, and hearing your personal observations as well of Ubuntu and Sankofa. We're going to explore that a little bit more in the breakout rooms. But as part of this discussion, I really want to come back to you, Pearl. And I know that you do so much in the community. I wanted you to just expand a little bit more about how Ubuntu and Sankofa informs your work and where that can potentially take us, not necessarily 7 generations down, but given the year that we're having, I'd love to get your input on that. And then perhaps we can come back to Amashade. So the women have the floor.
You know, it's interesting. Given the time that we are experiencing right now, it's very easy to forget the whole connection thing, the Ubuntu philosophy. For example, you know, just being out and about, where people would normally connect, where I would be connecting more. One of the things that I found in the community, and I'm sure many of us are experiencing because it's such a contrasting time, that the connection is it's dissipating. There's this I say it's just like a silent creeper in the space that's interfering with the connection that exists, will always exist, but it's that we've stopped tapping into it because of the climate of this time. And so for me, the conversations and the reminders are about, number one, that connectivity is everything, and we shall forever remain connected. It's just that we might forget it, and we are beginning to forget it. And so despite this time, is how can we hold on to the fact that energetically we remain as one? And, you know, I can say, even if it's just energetically, even if you find that you are, due to fears and anxieties and what have you, you are feeling that you want to be away, just hold on to the energy that runs and flows between us all. So how can you allow yourself that sense of freedom that allows you to energetically communicate, connect, and recognize your connection no matter what? And at this moment, that's my main conversation at the moment, to be honest. It's how we can hold on to that sense of freedom to connect, to recognize our forever connectiveness. I keep on saying again and again and again, energetically, because we are energy. And I believe that ultimately, if we can hold on to that as a collective, if we can hold on to that light that shines and communicates and keeps us all as one, I believe that the magic will continue to happen and shift this time. And I think at this time, Ubuntu and Sankofa, I mean, it's not by fluke, is it, that we're having this conversation and we're exploring this, is it? It's exactly as it should be, as it needs to be. It's giving us an opportunity to go back to the roots, to ground into the earth, to connect with Gaia, to really recognize who we are, how we how we be. I think you said that earlier on, didn't you, Ella? It's how we be together is everything, everything. And that's my, I always say to the sermon of Pearl is over now. It's just, here she goes, she's going into the sermon again. The sermon is essential for us to feel that we're thriving, I believe. We're thriving, and when we thrive, we feel alive. And when we feel alive, we are open to being as one. And so right now, even in particular, those are the kind of conversations and those are the kinds of things that I'm encouraging people to explore and share. I hope that answered your question. I think I went off on one again.
Yes. I think there's so much richness that could be explored further, and I know there's more to come in the day, and we also want to let everyone who's joined us this morning have an opportunity to share. So we're going to go to breakout rooms shortly, but I thought if I could just get 1 minute perhaps from Amashade, David and Denzel, and then we'll wrap up this part of the day, and I'll explain what happens next in terms of the breakout rooms.
Okay, blessings. Whoa, as an African woman, on the planet, I've been on this journey, as I spoke of earlier, for a long time. And the reason why I've been on this journey really is because of the pain, because of the distress, because of the ma'afa that happens, because of my displacement, because of the fact that, I'm a nomadic being who chooses to trod the planet and make it my home. But there's been that has been a journey. And so today is also about, exploring and just finding that healing, finding that soothing, finding what it is that really grounds us on a level. It's not to say that we go through life pain-free and that everything is, why is hunky-dory coming in my mind? But, but really, today is also about creating safe space to explore the difficulty of Sankofa and Ubuntu. Are we safe to be in village, actually? Are we safe? How do we create a space where we are safe to live and to be and to express ourselves? And within that safety, exploring, for me, the Western dis-ease, the dis-ease of just being in that kind of limited colonial fear-based mindset. So today, is really about sitting in that power. I thank you, Ella, for acknowledging the feminine, the divine feminine principle. So many people through the ages have said, you educate a woman and you educate a nation. So how do we as well globally and collectively heal that woman energy that is holding the next 7 generations? How do we do that in unity, in Ubuntu? How do we nurture the earth, as we spoke about before? Because anything out of balance, I'm really into that balance and alignment. Anything that's out of balance, it affects the whole, right? So accessing that internal energy that we have, connecting ourselves to nature. Because when we are, you know, in pain, and when we are out of sorts, or we're dizzy, or we're confused, actually the best thing to do is just ground yourself, hug a tree, you know, stand barefoot in the soil, breathe as we start off, you know, just, you know, and maybe today that's going to be very key. Just, you know, visualize wherever we are and wherever we be, that we push our energy through our feet into the soil to hold us, that we kind of allow our minds to expand so that each and every one of us is held. And that we actually take today as an opportunity to practice using these new skills, ancient skills come forward, the Sankofa skills, and bringing ourselves to that place where we can actually be held to do whatever we need to do, whether that's to laugh, cry, weep, mourn. We're just held, and we hold in our vessel of Ubuntu, and remembering we are where we've come from, and taking that forward, and knowing that everything we do, and you know, every breath we take nourishes the next 7 generations. So I think, you know, our power is just immense. And so I think within, you know, just sitting and holding that energy, I feel that I've said enough now. So I just want to honor the men, because I know we're talking about the woman, but I really honor that male energy of holding, because it's so important. So I'm now laying space for you both, Denzel and David, to come forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amajade. We are so deep into this conversation, and I'd really love to continue exploring more, but I'm going to have to ask you, Denzel and David, and if in just 1 minute, what does that mean for you in terms of community, the 7 generations, new paradigm, and what more is there to be revealed? Denzel.
I thank you, Amma, for reminding us of the imbalance, because I meant to touch on it before. Imbalance of the feminine and masculine energy. It's grossly out of balance, and for us to, it's about bringing that back, and also to distinguish gender from energy, masculine and feminine energy versus male and, you know, masculine and feminine gender. So that's, I think, a part, you know, even at Shakespeare, we're all players on the stage. So if we can move beyond the vessel, and going back to Pearl's point, how do we keep moving? I don't remember how you phrased it, but if we see each other as energy, points of light, actors on a play, and this is the most beautiful play. It's complete. It's got everything you want in a blockbuster film. So we're observing and participating. David.
I mean, I think this is so rich, such fertile soil. It goes on. For me, you know, I think the Sankofa image is so powerful, and I've worked with people that use it as a real example of resilience, because there's so many aspects to the sense of Sankofa, and one of them is, you know, looking backwards to learn from how we have overcome hardships of the past, and not only in our own lives, but in our history, in our ancestry, in our collective memories, in the memories of the human race on this planet. You know, there are things that we have overcome, and how can we learn from that? But then, as so many people have said, you know, the egg is such an important image because it's the future, and it's protecting that and nourishing the fragility of that, but to take it forward as a seed for what we want in the 7 generations of the future. And then I love this sense that, you know, the Sankofa bird, and so many people have talked about being grounded. You know, the Sankofa bird, the feet are on the ground. And it's like, I think Amasade said from Baba Ade, you know, come we go. You know, it's looking to the past and learning from it, nourishing the future and protecting the future, but taking action in the world today and doing those things and bringing the best of who we are forward and the relationships forward. So I think there's so much in the cosmovision of Ubuntu and Sankofa that we can continue to explore as the day goes forward. Great.
Thank you so much. Wow. This is just building more and more towards everything that we ever hoped this day could be. And it's my complete honor and pleasure to be working with you guys. The information, your personal stories, your commitment to being in this place at this time and here in the call, beyond space, beyond time, and however many dimensions I can imagine. So Om Shanti, thank you very, very much.